How's it going, man? You alright? Salam. Sammy, how are you? Okay? MashaAllah.
Wasn't it after Maghrib before?
Yeah, it's after Isha. Alhamdulillah, wassalatu wassalam ala rasulillah, amma ba'd. Ask Allah to make this another beneficial sitting where we are studying the statements of the Prophet ﷺ from the collection of Imam Nawawi in his famous book Al-Arba'in. And we have now reached hadith number 20. And the previous set of hadith that we were looking at issues connected to society and connected to matters at home, civil issues. Now, bi'idhnillah, we're going to look at some of the hadith which pertain to steadfastness and morality and istiqamah and being steadfast and shyness. And all of this is found in some of the statements of the Prophet ﷺ, where he's encouraging his ummah to make dhikr, not only of the tongue but of the actions, of your statements, of your manners, of your etiquettes, the way you treat people. All of this is included into the dhikr that the Prophet ﷺ was sent with. Al-Hadith al-Ashrun is the hadith of Ibn Mas'ud Uqba ibn Amr al-Ansari al-Badri. And this is an honor that is given to him because he was present with those small number on that day where Allah preserved Islam on the day of Badr. And he said, the Messenger ﷺ said, "Inna mimma adraka an-nas min kalam an-nubuwwah," that some statements from the earliest of prophethood that has reached you, إِذَا لَمْ تَسْتَحِي فَاسْنَعْ مَا شِئْتَ. Every single prophet that came before us had this statement passed on, that if you feel no shame in doing something, then do what you want. If you feel no shame in doing something, then do what you want. An explanation of this hadith, because it could be understood in two ways. The Prophet ﷺ is saying, if you don't feel no shame in something, could be rhetorical, meaning you yourself, if you don't have any honor for yourself, if you don't have any self-respect, if you have no shyness, if you have no morality, if you have no shame, then do what you want. There's nothing that's going to stop you. Allah says in the Quran, "اعملوا ما شئتم إنه بما تعملون بصير." Do what you want, because Allah is watching you. So it's rhetorical. It's rhetorical. And this is known in the Arabic language as insha. We say inshallah all the time. Insha here refers to, it's up to you. It's not a command, it's not a prohibition, it's nothing. But this hadith could also be understood as khabar. And this is information that's given by the Prophet ﷺ. And when khabar comes, it either comes with amr or nahi. Either comes with a command or prohibition. So now if we understand it as being a khabar, and the Prophet ﷺ's statement in saying, if you feel no shame, then do what you want, then basically what that means is, if there is something that you want to do, and your iman is not holding you back, there's no compromise to your faith, there's no compromise to your morals, you don't feel uncomfortable in doing that thing, then do it. So refer to yourself, refer to your morals, refer to your etiquettes. If that thing is in line with it, then do it. There's no harm in it. And then Ibn Rajab rahimahullah brings a statement of the Prophet ﷺ, where the Prophet ﷺ said, إِذَا أَبْغَضَ اللَّهُ عَبْدًا, if Allah hates a person and wishes no good for him, نَزَعَ مِنْهُ الْحَيَاءُ, shyness and morality and respect and self-honor Allah takes it away from that person. It's not in your control. Allah just doesn't give you the tawfiq to have it. فَإِذَا نَزَأَ مِنْهُ الْحَيَاءُ, and if shyness is taken away from him, then nothing is stopping him from accumulating wrong upon wrong. فَإِذَا نَزَأَ مِنْهُ الْأَمَانَةُ, and then the Prophet ﷺ says, then obviously now if he has no morality, has no self-respect, then he will lose any kind of trustworthiness. And if that trustworthiness is removed from him, then rahmah will then subsequently be removed from him also from Allah. You see, there's a series of events that's happening here. Shyness, slowly, accumulating more and more sin and more immorality. Then he will be proven to be untrustworthy, and when he's proven to be untrustworthy, any kind of rahmah will be taken away from him. And when rahmah is taken away from him, Riqbatul Islam is also taken away from him. This is a hadith, this is part of a long hadith. Riqbatul Islam is taken away from him. Riqba here is referring to the steadfastness, the morality, the flavor, the sweetness, every kind of aspect of Islam will slowly be removed from him. فَإِذَا نَزَأَ مِنْهُ رِقْبَةُ الْإِسْلَامِ, if that is taken away from him now, nothing remains with him إِلَّا شَيْطَانًا مَرِيدًا, except for a shaitan who will accompany him and assist him in his affairs. What's the first step? Haya. There's other narrations that have not been mentioned here where the Prophet ﷺ said the first thing to be lifted will be haya, and this has been mentioned by some of the Salaf also. And after haya is removed, after shyness and morality and all that is removed, then corruption will be placed on earth, and then trustworthiness and all those things will be removed slowly. And that's when the Prophet ﷺ has told us that there will obviously come a time towards the end of times when these characteristics will not be found in people anymore. Ibn Rajab rahimahullah says that in this hadith we find that the importance of shyness, the importance of modesty, and all of this will help you enable to prepare a meeting for Allah, because it will make you a responsible and an upright individual. And if you look at what Ibn Rajab rahimahullah is saying, we can obviously conclude from this also of how to have shyness in the times we live in today. Because if you look at people who have no religion, they say at least one good thing about religion. Religion is a cause of a lot of badness. Religion is a cause of a lot of fighting, etc. But if you look at religion on a spiritual, individual, secular level, at least it gives you morality, at least it gives you obedience, at least it gives you boundaries. And they admit that. And that's also been part of their research, that they themselves admit. And the opposite, they've also said is true. When a person has no religion, yasna ma shit, or yasna ma sha. And this is exactly what the Prophet ﷺ said. If you have no morals, if you have nothing to do with nubuwah, you will do whatever you want. But the opposite is also true. If you're connected to nubuwah, you're connected to the uprightness that Allah has sent with every ummah and every generation, then that will always bring you back to Allah and His messengers and His books. So this is basically what he has mentioned in this explanation of this hadith. And we can now then inshallah move on to the next hadith. Hadith number 21, Hadi wal Ishrun, on the authority of Abu Amr. And it is said that Abu Amr, Sufyan ibn Abdullah, who said, I said, O Messenger of Allah, Ya Rasulullah, قل لي في الإسلام قولا لا أسأل عنه أحد غيرك. Messenger of Allah, tell me something that nobody before you about Islam or within this religion has asked you about before. So the Prophet ﷺ said, قل آمنت بالله ثم استقم. Say, I believe in Allah, then remain steadfast. And again, this is nothing new from the series of a hadith that we're looking at here. If you look at the last hadith, we're talking about being upright and and having morality and having shyness. But here in this hadith, Prophet ﷺ is telling us directly and is commanding us directly, believe in Allah and His Tawheed, and then remain firm. And what we learn from this is that steadfastness is Tawheed. Nobody can claim to be a steadfast Muslim without having this as a prerequisite. Because what did the Prophet ﷺ said? Did he say, Istaqim? No, he didn't. He said, Amantu, Qul Amantu Billah. Say, I believe in Allah. And when the Prophet ﷺ is telling us to do something, it's not just something that you utter as a statement. It's a matter of aqeedah, it's a matter of practice. When he's saying that I believe in Allah, what it means is, learn who your Lord is, learn His rights and implement them. And some of the ulama have said that istiqamah and steadfastness means, istiqamah means steadfastness. So I might use this word, several times. Istiqamah can only come about also, and this is a very important point that people don't understand, unfortunately, and this is the cause of corruption from the east to the west, is that istiqamah can only be described as istiqamah is if you are balanced. An extremist can never be mustaqim ala deen. He'll never be steadfast upon his religion. And at the same time, a person who is extremely liberal can never be somebody who is upon his religion. Because Allah has made us an ummatun wasata, has made us a balanced nation, balanced between two extremes, balanced between people who know but they don't act upon it, and then those people who don't know and they want to act and create innovations. We are in between. We have knowledge and we act. And this is why the ulama have said that istiqamah and steadfastness can only be if you have tawheed and if you are balanced in that. You're not going into extremes. Another way that you know that you are upon steadfastness is when you are away from the wasawis and the actions of shaitan. When shaitan from the man and the jinn call you to do something, you are away from it. And when Allah Jalla wa Ala created Iblis, and Iblis went through the series of events that he did, showing of arrogance, etc., he displayed that he has no steadfastness. He claimed to be a worshipper of Allah, and some of these narrations say that he was from the most knowledgeable. He was so knowledgeable and pious that he was commanded to make sujood alongside the angels. He wasn't an angel. Allah, when He said to the angels, "Sujudu li Adam," it included a jinn, somebody that was not from them. That's the level of honor that Allah gave to Iblis. Similar to when the people of the cave are talked about, and there's a dog amongst them. This is honor given to that dog. It shouldn't, it's not actually part of, the guidance that Allah gave to the rest of them. But out of honor and out of respect, because of the virtue of the place and the virtue given to that miracle, it was also mentioned. So similar to this. So then when he said, no, I'm not going to make sujood, he challenged Allah. And he said, قَالَ فَبِمَا أَغْوَيْتَنِي, because you have led me astray, Iblis said to Allah, because it's your fault, you have led me astray, لَأَقْوَدَنَّ لَهُمْ صِرَاطَكَ الْمُسْتَقِيمَ, I'm going to sit on their sirat al-mustaqim, I'm going to call them to my way. And if they listen, then you will know that they are not upon istiqamah. But those people, lil-mukhlasin, except those people who are sincere and have tawheed and have that balanced steadfastness that we are talking about, then they will be away from shaitan. Another way that you know that you have an istiqamah is when a person is guided to self-reflect and make tawbah and complete this repetition of going back to Allah. Allah says in the Quran, فَاسْتَقِيمُوا إِلَيْهِ, and then وَاسْتَغْفِرُوا. فَاسْتَقِيمُوا إِلَيْهِ وَاسْتَغْفِرُوا. The command is there. Be steadfast, self-reflect. It's the only way you can be upon steadfast. If you think you are safe, then you are not steadfast. If you think you are perfect, then you are not. If you think that there is no room for improvement, then there is a problem with you. And Ibn Rajab rahimahullah brings a narration which is on the authority of Anas radiallahu anhu, which has been narrated in Musnad of Imam Ahmad, where the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, "La yastaqim إيمان عبد حتى يستقيم قلبه. The iman of a person will never be steadfast and never be upright until his heart is steadfast and upright. ولا يستقيم قلبه حتى يستقيم لسانه. And his heart will never be upright until his statements and his actions are also upright. How are you going to get that? How are you going to get that if you don't make tawbah? How are you going to get that if you don't make self-reflection on a daily basis? So what this statement in a general sense means, where this man, Abu Amra, asked the Prophet ﷺ, tell me about something about Islam that you can teach me about and I can go away with and benefit until I die. The Prophet ﷺ said, have Tawheed, learn what Tawheed is, be balanced on that and act upon it. And self-reflect, keep engaging yourself. Do you have Tawheed? And am I acting upon it? Hadith number 22, الثاني والعشرون, Hadith الثاني والعشرون. Excuse me. On the authority of Abu Abdullah Jabir ibn Abdullah al-Ansari, that a man came to the Prophet ﷺ and asked him a question. And he said, أَرَأَيْتَ إِذَا صَلَّيْتُ الْمَكْتُوبَاتِ, if I was to pray my obligatory prayers alone, that's it. No witr, no rawatib, وَصُمْتُ Ramadan, and I fasted Ramadan but I didn't do anything else. No Ashura, no Arafah, no nothing. Just Ramadan. وَأَحْلَلْتُ الْحَلَالِ, and I've made what is halal in Islam and I've followed that. وَحَرَّمْتُ الْحَرَامِ, and I've stayed away from what Allah has made haram. وَلَمْ أَزِدْ عَلَى ذَلِكَ شَيْئًا أَأَدْخُلْ جَنَّةً. If I go to Jannah, if I was just to do that, what Allah has made obligatory, would I go to Jannah? Prophet ﷺ said, نعم. Yes. And again here now we have another hadith which is an indication as to what istiqamah actually is. And this is following on from the previous hadith, where the Prophet ﷺ instructed the man to have iman, to have tawheed, to know the rights of Allah. And this hadith explains what that is. And the first one is to have tawheed and iman of Allah. And in this hadith here we are learning about more of the pillars of istiqamah, which is to establish the prayers, to fast the Ramadan. So hadith, as if we can look at it like this, hadith number 21 is talking about more of an internal one, where you are engaging yourself. Do you have tawheed or are you doing shirk? Do you have iman, do you have ikhlas, or do you have areas where you need to improve? Are you falling short? Do you think bad about other people? Are you somebody that is lazy? Are you somebody that doesn't really want to do something but he is doing it anyway? Is there room for improvement? But this next one here is talking about what is external, the actions. And here we have from the most pinnacle ways of you going to Jannah is establishing the prayers correctly and establishing the pillars of Islam correctly. And then the man asked, وَأَحْلَلْتُ الْحَلَالِ وَحَرَّمْتُ الْحَرَامِ, I make halal what is halal and I stay away from what is haram. So I'm very still vigilant as to what I'm doing. I do these obligatory parts, but still I continue to lower my gaze, I still continue to keep, reviewing all of these actions that I am doing. Am I falling into halal? Am I falling into haram? And the Prophet ﷺ said, if you were to do what you've been asked to do and stay away from what you've been asked to stay away from, then this is steadfastness, this is safety. And will he get his objective? The objective of safety is Jannah. And Ibn Rajab rahimahullah said that if you were to do this, and Allah says in the Quran, إِن تَجْتَنِبُوا كَبَائِرْ مَا تُنْهَوْنَ عَنْ, if you were to make the halal halal and you follow that and you stay away from the haram as much as you can, especially the kaba'ir, نُكَفِّرْ أَنْكُمْ سَيِّئَاتِكُمْ, Allah will expiate for you all of your sins, وَنُدْخِلُكُمْ مُدْخِلٍ كَرِيمًا, and we will enter you into an honorable entrance. So it might sound very simple as to what this man is asking, and if you look at it, Allah doesn't want a lot from you. How long does it take to pray the 5 obligatory prayers? In a day, 24 hours, how long does it take? Half an hour, 45 minutes? Maximum. Maximum. Zakat, how much do you pay in zakat? £2.50 from every £100. That's all Allah wants. You do that, that's one of the pillars of the religion that's completed. 30 days out of 360, if you are able to, then you can fast. If you are able to. If you are not, then Allah will overlook that. And some of these fasts, how long are they? We'll see now in the coming years, it's going to be extremely easy. But it doesn't necessarily mean that there is no hardship involved. وَأَحْلَلْتُ الْحَلَالِ وَحَرَّمْتُ الْحَرَامِ. It might be easy for a person to practice this, when you see this, when people want to practice Islam, or when they come into Islam and think, okay, I'm going to do the right thing from now on. I'm going to do it, the right thing, do everything which is halal, do it. But then slowly, they start slipping up. That's because steadfastness is key. Allah doesn't want from you to pray tahajjud every single night if you're not able to. It's not wajib. And had that been done for you, how many people would actually worship Allah? Salam. Allah wants from us quality and consistency. This is steadfastness. First hadith tells us, قُلْ آمَنْتُ بِاللَّهِ, say that I have iman, ikhlas in Allah, and I'm learning His tawheed and implementing them to the best of my ability. And the next one, these are the actions that I want to do to get closer to Allah. Hadith number 23, الثالث والعشرون, is on the authority of Abu Malik al-Harith ibn Asim al-Ashari, who said, the Messenger of Allah sallallahu alayhi wasallam said, الطهور شطر الإيمان, purification is part of Iman. And shatar usually refers to something which is half of something. And I'm sure the reason why this has been translated in this way is for a particular reason, and we'll see why. But if we were to take the literal sense, we would say half of Iman, half of faith. Walhamdulillah tamna al-mizan. The phrase is alhamdulillah, fill up the scales. What scales? وسبحان الله والحمد لله تملأان أو تملأ ما بين السماء والأرض. Subhanallah and Alhamdulillah, both of them fill up what is between the heavens and the earth. والصلاة نور والصدقة برهان والصبر ضياء. Salat is a light. Sadaqah is a proof. And again, proof, I'm not sure if that's the right word here, as we will see here. Light, I would say salat is nur. Salat is light. وَالصَّدَقَةُ burhan. And burhan is referring to a light which is glowing. وَالصَّبْرُ ضِيَاءٌ. And sabr, patience, is an illumination. Here it says lamp. وَالصَّبْرُ ضِيَاءٌ is an illumination. Maybe you could say lamp, maybe possible. وَالْقُرْآنُ حُجَّةٌ لَكَ أَوْ عَلَيْكَ. The Qur'an is either a proof for you or against you. كُلُّ نَاسٍ يَغْدُو. Every single one of us starts his day seeking something. It says here, as a vendor of his own self. We wake up in the morning, what do? You think, well, okay, what do I need to do today? What are some of the things I need to accomplish? What's my to-do list? فَبَائِعُ النَّفْسُ, where a person is trying to free himself, as it's saying here, or vendor of his own self, freeing himself, فَمُعْتِقُهَا أَوْ مُوبِقُهَا. And when he is selling himself, either he is going to free himself, or either he is going to destroy himself. This happens every single day with every single one of us, whether we realize it or not. And again, you see these statements here, we see also more steadfastness from the Prophet ﷺ. But also now we have how to implement steadfastness. And we have dhikr, and dhikr of the statements, and dhikr of the actions. And this will then reflect on the illumination that you are given in the dunya and the akhirah. You are given motivation, you are given expiation, you are given encouragement with the light that Allah gives you in the dunya and the akhirah. And it's only given to those people who are given steadfastness. At-tahur here is talking about purification. Ibn Rajab rahimahullah said, some of the ulama have said, at-tahur here refers to that purification is half of iman. Some of them said, it refers to leaving off bad deeds. Like the man said before, in the previous hadith, if I do what's halal, I'll stay away from haram. Half of iman now was to stay away from haram. Yeah? Because he said, I'm going to do what's halal, I'm going to stay away from haram. Half of it is staying away from bad deeds. Ibn Rajab rahimahullah said that this is a good explanation, but it's not correct. Some said it refers to internal purification, and the other half refers to external purification. But also this cannot be correct, because you cannot have half of purification which is internal. All of it's complete. Your actions, your statements, all of it is part of a purification if you're going to talk about in a spiritual sense. So what does it mean? The majority of ulama have said, at-tahur shatrul iman, that purification is half of faith, is that it refers to water and it refers to hygiene. That preserving hygiene is half of your iman. But why? Why is it so important? Why is it so significant? Ibn Rajab rahimahullah then goes on to say that if we are talking about purification, like we were just saying a moment ago, where someone said half of it's internal, half is external, he said if we were to look at purification in a total sense, and that is complete iman, then what it would lead to are statements of purity also. So if your internal is clean, then the rest of it will follow, basically. So there is a connection to making the tawheed of Allah and ikhlas inside. And then he gives an example, Ibn Rajab rahimahullah, that why it's connected to hygiene is when a person makes wudu and he makes the shahada, the doors of the Jannah are open for him. When he makes the shahada, after making wudu, all of the doors of Jannah are open for him. But it's also connected, half of purification is also connected to the salat, because it's a condition for the salat. So half of you completing the prayer is having the purification for it. And if you were to do all of this, if you were to preserve all of this, if you were to preserve all of this, what will happen? You will gain the expiation from your Lord. لا يحافظ الوضوء إلا المؤمن. The Prophet ﷺ said, Ibn Rajab goes on to quote this, that there is a strong connection between wudu and hygiene and iman. That there is not a person, nobody preserves their wudu correctly and their hygiene correctly, cleaning themselves correctly, preserving the wudu correctly, make sure they're doing it properly, except the mu'min. And this refers to the actions itself, but it also refers to seeking the reward and closeness to Allah. لا يحافظ الوضوء إلا المؤمن refers to doing the actions, but also seeking the reward and closeness to Allah. And proof for this also is a hadith which has been narrated by Abu Hurairah. The Prophet ﷺ said, "As-salatu thalatha athlath." Your salat, in terms of its reward, is split into three. Your salat is split into three. At-tuhur thuluth. Third of your reward, when you were to pray before Allah, a third of the reward is connected to your wudu and your ghusl, and your istinja and all these things. Wal-ruku' thuluth. When you're making ruku', when you're making tasbih, when you're having khushu' with Allah and praising Allah. Was-sujud thuluth. Again, praising Allah and showing humility to Allah, but this third, making supplication to Allah. فَمَنْ أَدَّى فَمَنْ أَدَّاهَا بِحَقِّهَا, whoever does this correctly, with true tranquility and khushu', it will be accepted from him. But then look what the Prophet ﷺ said. وَقُبِلُ مِنْهُ سَائِرْ أَعْمَالِهِ, all of his actions after that will also be accepted. وَمَنْ رَدَّتْ عَلَيْهِ صَلَاتُهُ, if his salah is not accepted, and the Prophet ﷺ told us in another hadith, a man could pray 60, 70 years, meet Allah, none of it is accepted. He didn't do his ruku properly, he didn't do Fatiha properly, he didn't do Tahara properly. The Prophet ﷺ is saying here, if your salat is not accepted, رُدَّ عَلَيْهِ سَائِرْ أَعْمَالُهُ, all of his actions will be in loss. May Allah protect us. So here now we see that Tahara is also something which is very important. We talk about internal Tahara, we talk about external Tahara, it's a full package. And then Ibn Rajab rahimahullah also says from this hadith that the Prophet ﷺ has said is 1/3. And in this hadith that we have in Arba'in, it says it's half. So what we learn from this also, one of the benefits, is that when the Prophet ﷺ says half, it doesn't literally mean half. It means a large portion of your iman refers to your purification. Because here he said 1/3, and then he said half. Also from this hadith we learn the virtue of dhikr, and it is the most beloved of speech to Allah. The Prophet ﷺ said here, أفضل kalam, here أفضل kalam. When you make dhikr of Allah, this is the best statements that you can ever make throughout your whole life. Your tongue will not move in a better way. The reason why you have been created is to make these statements. And if you do this, then you have not uttered anything better. Allah says in the Quran, وَالْبَاقِيَاتُ الصَّالِحَاتِ. We recite this Surah Kahf every week. There are certain things that will remain. You pass away, but there are certain things that, what are they? And Mufassirun have said this refers to the dhikr. And the Prophet ﷺ said the best of your kalam that you can ever say, Subhanallah, walhamdulillah, wa la ilaha illallah, wallahu akbar. And this is what we find in this hadith also. And also we learn from this hadith where the Prophet ﷺ said, walhamdulillah, tamla al-mizan, alhamdulillah, fills up the scales. It's also proof that your deeds will actually be weighed. And if you are successful, when you are placed into your grave and you're going through a series of transitions that you have never witnessed before and you probably never ever witness again. You've had an angel come down to you and he's pulled out your soul. You're being rushed around and your body can witness it. Everything, your whole world has stopped, but everybody else's dunya is carrying on. And you can see it. And then you're saying, where are you taking me? Where are you taking me? But there is no answer. They can't hear you. Then they line up and they pray salah over you and they throw mud over you. And I say, khalas, you're never going to see them ever again. And the hadith, after you've been buried, you hear their footsteps walk away. And after that moment, you will never hear anything from the dunya ever again. Then what happens? You are woken up. And Prophet ﷺ describes the waking up of the believer. He will wake up and he's put in this 6 by whatever it is grave, but he will be in a different room now. And he'll sit up, and the believer, he'll start rubbing his eyes, and these people are talking to him, and he will say to them, leave me alone, I need to pray. He's in his grave, and he says, I want to pray. So the angels will say to him, there'll be a time, there'll be plenty of time, brother, don't worry about that. We're here to ask you some questions. Who's your Lord? What's your religion? What did you say about this man? If you're given tawfiq in the dunya, you will have tawfiq on that day. If you have no tawfiq in the dunya, then on that day, Allah protect us. Then, when you have answered correctly, a man will come. And now remember, you're still in this state of what's going on. You know, you don't see people, you don't see anyone. This man will come. And this man will have the best of appearances. And he'll have the best of smells. And you will think, I've never seen anyone more beautiful than this man. Who are you? And he will come. What will he say? I am your salat. I'm your zakat, I'm your siyam. So from this, the ulama have said that your deeds will be weighed, and it will be presented to you, and it will be something which is satisfying for you. The Prophet ﷺ has been narrated in saying, and some of the ulama have said that this is a statement of Salman al-Farsi, and it doesn't go beyond the Prophet ﷺ, but bi'idhnillah, I mean, Salman wouldn't say this out of his own ijtihad. Yuda al-mizan yawm al-qiyamah. On the day of judgment, the mizan, the scales will be placed. Then he describes what the scales are. We will never be able to picture it. He said, فَلَوْ وُزِنْ فِيهِ السَّمَاوَاتُ وَالْأَرْضِ. If all the galaxies and all the universes and all the earths and everything that you see from creation was to be put on one side, لَوُسِّئَتْ. The scales would be even much more extensive beyond that. One object of Allah's creation is going to be far more extensive than we can ever imagine or ever see, our telescopes ever reach. فَتَقُولُ الْمَلَائِكَةِ the malaika will say, Ya Rabb, liman tuzan hadha? Who is going to be weighed on this? Look how big it is. Who's going to be weighed on this? فَيَقُولُ اللَّهُ تَعَالَى لِمَنْ شِئْتَ مِنْ خَلْقِي لِمَنْ شِئْتُ مِنْ خَلْقِي. Whoever I want from those who I have created. فَتَقُولُ الْمَلَائِكَةِ. Look what the angels said. So now Allah said, I've created people, and every single one of them are going to have their deeds weighed on this scale. So the angels are saying, this is an awesome scale. How is anybody going to fill this up? So Allah said, whoever I want, and everyone will. So then the malaika said, Subhanak, ma abadna haqqa ibadatik. The angels, ever since that they've been created, what do? All they do is worship. When they saw these scales, they said that we have never worshipped you enough to fill these scales. That's the angels. But Allah's mercy is greater than our sins. Allah's mercy and His acceptance is greater than our actions. And for every action, He has told us that He will multiply it. But it has to start from us. It has to start with dhikr. It has to start with tasbih and tamheed. It has to start with ikhlas. You can't just be saying subhanallah on your prayer beads every single day and expect to come on the day of judgment and think that your deeds are going to be plentiful. No. Allah wants from us quality. Allah wants from us a connection. So that when you know your Lord in the dunya, you will know who He is in the akhirah. When you say subhanallah, and again, this is something which is very important to this discussion, but very important to us as individuals, our homes, the ummah. What does subhanallah mean? We say on a daily basis, and I'm sure I've talked about this before. But unfortunately, people are just, even after the salah, subhanallah, 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 subhanallah. All you hear is, there's no real, when you end the sujood, it's quick. Just want to get it done 3 times, go. Have you ever just stopped and paused and say, Subhana Rabbi al-A'la? Far above Allah is familiar with any kind of imperfection. I'm in this position of sujood. You are watching me from above your arsh. I am a lowly slave, but I am saying to you, Ya Allah, there's no imperfection for you. There's imperfection for me. But I'm making tasbih of you, Ya Allah. This is what subhanallah means. To testify to Allah Jalla wa Ala that He is far above any kind of imperfection. And that means having any kind of partner, any kind of deficiency, any kind of imperfection in His creation, in His decree, in His actions. When you say Alhamdulillah, what does Alhamdulillah mean? And Alhamdulillah is the opposite. This is where you are affirming total perfection to Allah. And this is very easy on the tongue of many people. How are you, brother? Alhamdulillah. Alhamdulillah, I got a new job in the bank. Alhamdulillah, I got married to a woman who's not very pious. How does that make sense? How does that fit in? Because we don't realize what we are saying or doing. The connection is gone. the ikhlas and the steadfastness, the dhikr, the true essence of dhikr has been lifted from us, like we just seen in the very first hadith. When you say Alhamdulillah, you are affirming full perfection to Allah. Again for His laws, again for His decree, again for His honor and His favor upon you. Imam al-Thawri, one of the famous of the Salaf, said, لَيْسَ يُضَاعَفْ مِنْ الْكَلَامِ مِثْلَ الْحَمْدُ لِلَّهِ. There is no word that can be multiplied like Alhamdulillah. Nothing. Because Alhamdulillah يتضمن بإثبات جميع أنواع كمال لله. This is Thawri said. Because when you say Alhamdulillah, what you are affirming is you are attesting to Allah, Ya Allah, you are completely perfect. So perfect, I can't even imagine how perfect you are. You are perfect in your names, you are perfect in your tawheed, you are perfect in your attributes. And because of this, فَيَدْخُلُ فِيهِ التَّوْحِيد. When a servant truly makes Alhamdulillah, by this he is in tawheed. Also we have in this hadith the virtue of other forms of dhikr such as Allahu Akbar, etc., and saying La ilaha illallah. But then the Prophet ﷺ went on to talking about Nur, Burhan and Diya. And these are three different types which mean light. Nur, Burhan, Diya means light in the English language. It's translated to Arabic. But just like in English, there could be a delicate difference. When the Prophet ﷺ said, was Salatu Nur, Nur is light. But why did he call Salat Nur? The reason why he called Salat Nur is because Salat is needed for you to be able to distinguish between light and darkness. It is your criterion in the dunya, and it is your criterion in the akhirah between Jannah and Jahannam. As-Salatu Nur. There's no Salat, there's no Nur. In the dunya and the akhirah. وَصَدَقَةُ Burhan. Now again, Burhan here refers to, as being translated as a proof. This is good. But where is the light connection? Because the Prophet ﷺ has mentioned these three words, because it's connected to light. And like we've said before, Burhan possibly, we could probably say here as something like a glowing. Why is it glowing? Why does Sadaqah glow? Because when something glows, it usually glows beyond the target. Sadaqah comes from the word sidq. Sidq means truthfulness. And the reason why sadaqah comes from sidq is when you give from your wealth, you are doing it because you are sincere. You are parting with something that you worked hard for, something which you hold dear, something maybe you got planned for. I've got this £10, I want to go spend it for my family, but I'll give it to this sister, I'll give it to this brother, they need it more than me. You are truthful towards it. So it's a proof for you that you are truthful. But what that means is that something that has started from inside, and when you give it, it carries on. That the rays of illumination of sadaqah goes beyond that initial object, and then it continues to help that other person. وَالصَّدَقَةُ Burhan. You come in Yawm al-Qiyamah, it's a proof for you in front of everybody in creation, Yawm al-Qiyamah, that I have done this for the sake of Allah. Sincerity from inside. That's why it's Burhan. وَالصَّبْرُ Diya. And a diya is a burning light, like it says here, a lamp. It's a burning light because it's a lamp for other people, but it doesn't burn itself. It helps other people to see, but it doesn't self-explode. And Ibn Rajab rahimahullah goes on to talking about these words being used in the Quran. And the Kitab of Musa, وَلَقَدْ آتَيْنَا مُوسَى وَهَارُونَ فُرْقَانٌ وَدِيَاءٌ وَذِكْرَى لِلْمُتَّقِينَ. That Allah gave Musa and Harun the criteria between right and wrong, and he described the Torah as being a diya. But he also described the Quran as being hudan wa nur. Being hudan wa nur. Why? Because the nur is going to help you differentiate between right and wrong and be steadfast. But the diya that they had, because of the hardness of what they created for themselves, it was something that was hard for them to carry. But it was still beneficial for other people, became hard for them to carry. And then the last statement here, where the Prophet ﷺ is talking about the Quran, Hujjatun laka aw alayk. Ibn Rajab goes on to talking about the virtues of reciting the Quran and studying it, etc. But here's a narration from Ibn Mas'ud radiallahu anhu, where he said, Al-Quran shafi' mushaffa, and it's an intercession, and it will intercede for you. And whoever makes the Quran his imam, it will guide him to Jannah. If you make the Quran something that guides you, it will guide you to Jannah. But if you make the Quran behind you, it will guide you to the fire. Hujjatun laka aw alayk is either proof for you or against you. Do you recite it? Do you memorize it? Do you study it? Do you wonder why Allah has put this story next to that story, that surah next to that surah? Do you want to make dua to Allah when you stop and you recite? When you're reciting ayat of mercy, do you make dua to Allah? When you recite ayat of punishment, do you sincerely think, oh Allah, don't put me in this? This ayah might be about me. How do I know? Do you know? You don't know. Have a connection with the Quran, because it will be a guide for you. It will help you, and you will see that there's so much barakah in it. You can read the same surah over again, and you find many different new lessons that you didn't even see before. And Allah will open that for you if you are sincere. Allah will open that for you if you repeat His words and you give veneration to His words. Abu Musa al-Ash'ari said, "Inna hadha al-Quran كائن لكم أجرا وكائن عليكم وزرا." This Quran is either a reward for you or a burden against you. Look, is it a reward or a burden? The Quran actually can be a burden for some people. So follow the Quran. If you follow the Quran, the Quran will follow you. Wherever you go in the dunya, if you follow the Quran, then you will find the Quran there with you. In the akhirah, if you have the Quran with you in the dunya, then the Quran will intercede. Allah will make the Quran intercede for you yawm al-qiyam. If you follow the Quran, Abu Musa carried on, radiallahu anhu, if you follow the Quran, this is important. Because why? Because these people are actually talking about the connection that they've had with the Quran. They're not making it up. They're not thinking, what's an eloquent way of making people, think this is a wise state. It's not about that. It's not a tweet. It's not a Facebook comment. He's literally giving you his relationship with the Quran. He's telling you what is in his heart. He's telling you what he actually feels from the Quran, so that hopefully you can feel the same way. Follow the Quran will follow you. It's personal experience. Be with the Quran. Wherever you will be, the Quran will be there with you. It will guide you. It will remind you. It will help you. And if you follow the Quran and the Quran follows you, what will happen? He will be landed in to the Riyadh al-Jannah. He will be landed into the very pinnacle, the peak of the Jannat that Allah has created. If you follow the Quran and the Quran follows you, it will protect you against from the evil of your own self. But if you don't follow the Quran and the Quran leaves you, then you are left alone, astray, eligible to be falling into the fire, because there's nothing there to catch you anymore. There's nothing there to prevent you anymore. Do a couple of more hadith. Hadith number 24, the hadith of Abu Dharr al-Ghafari. Prophet ﷺ said, in a hadith which is Qudsi, where he said that my Lord said, Ya ibadi, my slaves, inni haramtu dhulm ala nafsi, I have made oppression haram upon myself. So don't oppress one another. In this hadith we'll see that there are so many different reminders of dhikr, there's so many different reminders of steadfastness, and all of this is bounded in with Allah speaking to you, Bani Adam, child of Adam. So like we said before, Tawheed cannot be there without, steadfastness cannot be there without Tawheed. Allah said that He has made oppression haram for Himself, so don't oppress one another. There's another hadith of Prophet ﷺ said, imagine if Allah got all of the people of the heavens right now, and all of the people of the earth that have ever been created, and He was to punish them, without asking, just punish them. وَهُوَ غَيْرُ ظَالِمٍ لَهُمْ. He would do that, and He would not be oppressive. It would be justice. If He comes and He just wiped out the whole of creation, punished them all, that would be justice. Because this is how we are in our nature. But Allah has promised Himself in this hadith, إِنِّي حَرَّمْتُ الظُّلْمَ عَلَى نَفْسِي, I will not be oppressive. And in fact what that means is that He's going to show a more exceeding level of mercy and thankfulness. وَأَجَعَلْتُ بَيْنَكُمْ مُحَرَّمًا فَلَا تَظَالِمُوا, I've made it haram amongst you one another, so don't oppress one another. Ya ibadi, my slaves, كُلُّكُمْ ضَالٍ إِلَّا مَنْ هَدَيْتَ. You think you're here, you have iman because you're born in Islam. Every single one of us already are susceptible to be led to go astray. But in this hadith here, Allah Jalla wa Ala is saying here that hidayah is from Him. And hidayah is extremely important. Steadfastness is extreme, guidance is extremely important. And you must connect that to Allah. If you connect that to your own self, your own skills, your own personality, then there is a problem. And it could be taken away. So seek guidance in me and I will guide you. Ya ibadi, my slaves, kullukum ja'in illa man at'amtu. All of you are hungry. None of us have the ability to feed ourselves, to create something from nothing. فَاسْتَطْعِمُونِي أُطْعِمْكُمْ. Seek food and provisions in me, then I will give it to you. Look at the Tawheed. Allah is telling you to reflect every single moment of your life, the very creation, the food that you need. Ya ibadi, kullukum arid illa man kasawta. The clothes that you have on your back. We've seen people were living nice lives, they had cars, they had houses. Just a couple of weeks ago, all of that was taken by a whole wave. They didn't see it coming. They couldn't predict it. One woman was watching the news, she goes, I've got nothing except the clothes on my back. Every single one of us is naked except for the one that Allah has clothed. فَاسْتَخْسُونِ أَخْسُكُمْ. Seek it in me and I'll give it to you. Tawheed. Ya ibadi, innakum tukhti'una bil-layl wan-nahar. All of us are making sins. All of us are falling short day and night. وَأَنَا أَغْفِرُ الذُّنُوبَ جَمِيعًا. And I will forgive all of your sins. Sins, millions of sins. Millions. In this room, Allah knows best how many sins. It could be billions. Allah is going to forgive debts of billions upon billions. فَاسْتَغْفِرُونِي أَغْفِرْ لَكُمْ. On the condition that you have tawheed. On the condition that you make ibadah to Him. On the condition that you make istighfar. Ya ibadi, innakum lan tablughu durran. You will not be able to harm me, or gather to harm me so as to harm me. And you will not be able to gather to benefit me so as to benefit me. What does Allah want from us? Why is Allah Jalla wa Ala telling us this in the Hadith Qudsi? To turn to Him. He wants us to be empowered. And the only way you will be empowered is if you're connected to Him. If you turn to Him, like you said, if you turn to Him, He rejoices. He literally, it's been narrated in the Hadith, He becomes happy. When you turn to him, make tawbah to him, he becomes happy. He is happy and he talks about you when you obey him. He talks about you by name to the angels. Look at this servant of mine. Has he seen the Jannah? Has he seen the fire? Has he seen me? And the angels report back to him and say, no, yeah, he hasn't seen any of these things. And Allah says about you and talks to the angels about you. Daily basis. If you want it to be though. You have to make this star. You have to remember Allah. You have to have this tawheed. You have to have this connection. But also we learn from this also is the level of patience that Allah has with us. Because He wants that from us. He doesn't want to punish us. How many of us are asked Allah genuinely to give us clothing, give us food and give us hidayah? How many of us genuinely do that on a daily basis? But, and like we said before, had He put a stop to it right now and said, enough now, forget it. He's not done it. He's not done it for 20 years. Why should He do it now? He still continues to be paid because He wants you. Ya ibadi, my slaves, لو أن أولكم وآخركم وإنسكم وجنكم, all of you, mankind, all of you jinn, كانوا على أتق قلب رجل واحد منكم, all of you gathered, were embodied in one pious man, all of you. None of you will be able to increase me in my dominion in the slightest. You worship Allah, it's not going to increase Allah in the slightest, it's going to increase you. It's not going to help Allah at all. He doesn't need His creation. Ya ibadi, my slaves, if all of you, the first of you to the last of you, the ins of you and the jinn of you, were to gather again, all gather, be personified in one evil, despicable man, مَا نَقَصَ مِنْ ذَلِكَ مُلْكِ شَيْءٍ, then that will not remove any kind of power from my dominion either. Again, it's for you. Whether you do this chance or that chance, the good deeds or the bad deeds, all of it is for you. يا عبادي لو أن أولكم وآخركم وإنسكم وجنكم قاموا في سعيد واحد. This is the point here now. This is what Allah wants. If all of you was together from the beginning to the end, the man and the jinn, were all of you to stand on one plane, فَسَأَلُونِي, and were to ask me with tawheed, with humility, with khushu, seeking a true connection, فَأَعْتَيْتُ كُلَّ وَاحِدٍ مَسْأَلَةً, I will give every single one of them whatever they want. Allah creates from absolutely nothing. Allah is al-Ghani. Allah has been spending ever since before that we can even know. He's always been spending, and He continues to spend, and He will continue to spend for eternity. There is nothing that removes Allah from His richness. There is nothing that removes Allah from giving rizq. There is nothing that makes Allah deficient in the slightest. When Allah does something, He doesn't become tired from doing that. When He gives something, it doesn't reduce Him in anything. You give somebody £10, you've lost that £10, you have to earn it to get it back. That doesn't happen in Allah. All He has to do is say, and it is. This is your Lord. If you create that connection and have tawheed with Him, then there's nothing that can stop you. ما نقص ذلك من عندي إلا كما ينقص المخيط إذا أدخل البحر. Nothing will be removed. Just like for us to understand this parable, if we were to put a pin in the ocean, look at what water is there, compare it to the rest of the ocean, that's what the comparison is. And the ulama have said that not even that. This is just an example so that you can understand. Because this here, even if you were to take a drop out, you've still taken something out from the ocean. Here, you've not taken anything from Allah Jalla wa ala. Ya ibadi, innama hiya a'malukum uhsiha lakum. My servants, these are your deeds. And every single one of them have statistics. Your data is preserved. Ever since you became a man or a woman, those angels are writing, and they've not made a mistake. They've not added, they've not taken away. Everything is there. These are Allah's servants. They created. So imagine Allah Jalla wa ala Himself. ثُمَّ أُوَفِّيكُمْ إِيَّهِ. You will stand in front of me, He's saying in this Hadith Qudsi, and I'm going to talk to every single one of us about it, and then I personally will recompense you for it. What happens when Allah recompenses? Does He give one for one? Never. Never. He's a Rahman, never. You did one, here's one. No. You do one, it could be 700. Hadith, when Prophet ﷺ said, a man gives half a date. Have you seen Jabal Uhud? Have you seen the Mount of Uhud? Have you seen how big that is? How long do you think it is? 3-4 miles?
Long.
Yeah, long.
Yes.
About 5-6, maybe we say 5-6 kilometers, maybe a bit more. How high do you think it is? 3-4 kilometers high, maybe?
About
2.
200 feet.
Okay, so wait, what? 1 kilometer then? So say 1 kilometer by 3-4 kilometers long. Half a day, the Prophet ﷺ said, Allah will wrap it, that sadaqah, in his hand, and it will become a mountain bigger than that. That's how your Lord is saying, ثُمَّ وَفِيكُمْ إِيَّا. That's how I'll recompense you. That's half a day. That's not even maybe something which is an obligation. فَمَنْ وَجَدَ خَيْرًا فَلْيَحْمَدِ اللَّهِ. If you find yourself upon goodness, you're in the masjid, you're not in somewhere that you shouldn't be on a Friday night, on a Saturday night, on a Monday morning, doing something that you shouldn't be doing, then thank Allah. وَمَنْ وَجَدَ غَيْرَ ذَلِكَ فَلَا يَلُومَنَّ إِلَّا نَفْسَهُ. If anybody has anything other than that, then he only has himself to blame. This is the choice that you have, and this is what your Lord Jalla wa Ala has described that is potentially there as a creation between him and his creation. But what it, like we said before, what it needs is ikhlas, what it needs is tawheed, what it needs is dhikr, what it needs is steadfastness. Ask Allah to make this beneficial for us all and give us tawfiq to get closer to him and allow us to worship him in a way that he is pleased with. هذا والله أعلم وصلى الله على نبينا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين. Got some questions here, and one of these questions actually was asked last week. A person is asking, and I'm sure everybody is aware of what's been happening in the news recently. The person is asking, can martial arts events or a martial art fighter who is using the name of Allah and using the religion of Islam to promote his cause, etc., be classed as a form of da'wah? The example given here is about martial arts or boxing or wherever it is, and a fighter. But to be honest, it's unfortunate, as we will see, that this is not about a particular person or a particular sport. It's become part of the way that Muslims are engaging within society now, where they are following and trying to create an identity for themselves where their identity in Islam is no longer there. They're not happy with their identity in Islam, so they're trying to attach it to something else. And Allah knows best why they are doing it. Is it to please, a certain group of people? Is it because the younger generation are not as connected to the Islam, or connected to Islam, or connected to worship anymore? Allah knows best. But can it be classed as a form of da'wah? First of all, we need to ask, what is da'wah? Da'wah refers to, as the ulama have said, is to convey the religion. Iblagh, ya ayyuha rasul, balligh ma unzila ilayk. Convey what has been revealed to you. This is da'wah. So if a person is playing sports, then that is not da'wah in itself. Can't be da'wah. What's he giving da'wah to? Is he saying anything about Islam? Is he calling people to the message of Islam? Is he calling people to the Quran and understanding the Quran, Hadith, understanding the Hadith? It's not da'wah in itself. But to understand this a bit further, the ulama have talked about having conditions for da'wah. And what do you think is the biggest condition having for what is the biggest condition that is needed to give da'wah? Before that? Ikhlas. Where you have the niyyah, where you have the ikhlas. So if a person is trying to box or do whatever he's trying to do, and say this is under the name of Islam, then there could be some serious connections or some serious problems with his ikhlas. But like the brother also said, after ikhlas is ilm, and both of this can be found in the statement of Allah, قُلْ هَذِي سَبِيلِ أَدْعُوا إِلَى اللَّهِ. This is the path. Allah is telling the Prophet ﷺ, this is my path of the Sunnah, and I call to Allah. I don't call to boxing, I don't call to whatever it is. I call to Allah, and then the next bit, على بصيرة. Ikhlas, ilm. Two conditions which are very important. The ulama have also extended this in saying that there's a third condition to giving da'wah, is that there can't be greater harm. And this is also very important, as you will see in a minute. There can't be greater harm. Another thing is that a person must seek to rectify. It's no good me going to punching someone in the face and saying, Alhamdulillah, what has he rectified? What has he actually done for Islam? Not rectified anyone. So the whole point is when you're engaging in da'wah, whether it's between a Muslim or a non-Muslim, the whole point is that we all walk away having at least a better image of Islam. Whether the person's accepted it or not, that's not your job. But at least they have a better understanding now, you know. It can't be that there are any sins involved. And there are more conditions than that, but these are the ones that are put down because I think they are quite relevant. Now, if we pick out every single one of them, we will find that in such incidents, it cannot be classed as da'wah, not at all. Have you got ikhlas to make this as an act of worship, or is it a business, or is it an event? Have you got ilm? Are you going out there and calling people to kitab and sunnah? Was he in the ring calling to kitab and sunnah? Is there greater harm? Definitely. If he's boxing, I didn't see it, but if he's boxing, I'm pretty sure there's going to be music there. There's going to be women that are not dressed appropriately there. There's going to be men that are not dressed appropriately there. There's going to be people saying things which are not appropriate. So clearly there is a greater harm. You can't go into a nightclub and start calling to quote the Quran and say, look, everybody follow the Quran. There's a time and a place for things. So if you're going to say that this is da'wah, then that's incorrect. Because you're in the wrong place at the wrong time. Are you trying to seek rectification? Are you going to punch someone else's face so that people can see the beauty of Islam? Is he going to engage in this activity so that he can rectify the environment, the community and society? Clearly not. And there can't be any sins involved. And the reason why I was saying in the very beginning that I think that there's a whole complex issue here is what we're seeing now, unfortunately, is people taking something which is mubah. Food, hijab, kicking a football. And then what they do is they start manipulating it. So, you get a black hijab, I don't want to wear it like this, let me show you how to wear it like this, let me show you how to wear it like that. Let's change the black one to a colourful one, let's get a pink one, let me show you how to wear it like this. And then it just gets more and more and more. Okay, I've just did my hijab, what about the rest of my outfit? Something which was mubah, or something wajib, wearing the hijab, became something mubah where a sister shows another sister. Then what happens is that they're not satisfied with that, let's take a video of it. Let's put it on YouTube. And then what happens, makeup and all of these things. So what starts off as being mubah, then slowly snowballs itself, and now it becomes disguised. Same thing with nasheed. Somebody starts off with just saying certain things about, remembering Allah, make a nice rhythm for it. It's for the kids. Nothing wrong with that. Fine. Go ahead. Let's put a little beat on it. This gets a bit boring now. Just no duff on it. Duff's okay. Start. Then let's make a synthetic duff. And let's make a video. Let's make an album. Let's take the beard off. Let's put more beats in it. So you see how it goes. It starts off something mubah and it goes on to an extreme. Let's do one together. Is it permissible to get a football and me kick it to you? What do you think? What's the hukum? Halal or haram? Khalfan. I got a ball, I kick it to you. Is that halal? What do you think? He has to think. Anybody say haram? I don't think there's any scholar from the whole ummah who will say that kicking a ball is haram. I don't think so. It's mubah. There's no dalil at all. Now, this Muslim gets involved in kicking a ball. He becomes very good at it. Then he comes on, he goes through trials and he gets into a football team. Is this permissible so far? He's kicking a ball, he's carrying on kicking a ball, he's doing it professionally, they're paying money, there's nothing wrong with it. Right. Then, now he's saying, Alhamdulillah, I scored a really good goal, Subhanallah, we lost that game. Does that become da'wah now? Why not? Huh?
It's not calling to Allah. It's just
These conditions are not there. Firstly, have you got ikhlas? Are you calling to any kind of ilm? Is there a greater harm? Are you calling to self-rectification? طيب, he carries on playing football. And now the kick gets a bit higher, so you can see his thighs. He scores a goal in a very important game. His name is Muhammad, and he makes sajda in front of the whole world. SubhanAllah, look at this brother, mashallah. We should support him, we should support his team. He's making sajda in front of the whole world. Is that da'wah? How can that be da'wah? In actual fact, some of the ulama have said, if you are doing acts of worship, which appear to be acts of worship, which involve haram, it's an act of kufr. You are mocking the religion. You're not taking it seriously. I'm not trying to say that it's an act of kufr, I'm just trying to say that it's not in its proper place, in its proper time. And this is where we have led to now, where a person starts off with a desire to watch football, with a desire to watch boxing or whatever, and slowly it just becomes justified, and now it becomes an act of worship. I remember a statement from one of the Salaf, and this is a sad state. The Jahmiyyah, one of the Salaf said, the Jahmiyyah, these are people who deny any kind of names and attributes for Allah and all these things. And when you start talking about Allah and Iman, Tawheed, and His Rahmah, and His Maghfirah, and all these things, they say, no, stop, please stop, we don't want to hear it, we don't want to talk about it. The Salaf said, one of the Salaf, he said, when you talk about the ahkam in the Quran, you say your Iman goes up. But when you want to talk about Allah, you say your Iman goes down. This is exactly the same thing that's happening. Talk to me about what's the ruling. Is it okay to fight and do boxing so we can give dawah? Tell me, brother, come on. What's the ruling? Yeah, brother, it'd probably be better for you to come, study some hadith, read the Quran, come to the masjid. Don't go watching boxing and football on a Friday night, Saturday, and wherever it is. Pray Salatul Isha. No, that's boring. In a different way. This is how the state of the Ummah has become. Because when we are leaving those things that are important, which actually enrich you, then this is the state that you come in. And also, like I was saying before, when it comes to greater harm, then arguably when a Muslim hits a non-Muslim, whether it's boxing or not, then that always just leads to backlash in society, backlash in politics maybe, and backlash also with the rise of Islamophobia. And it just makes it look, this is how Muslims behave. So, Wallahu A'lam, I don't see how any of this can, be da'wah to Islam, especially when a man hitting another man does not represent Islam or the Muslims. It doesn't represent me. It doesn't represent what I understand from the Quran and the Sunnah. So you can't call that da'wah. Da'wah is when you say Allah is one. Da'wah is when you say Muhammad is Rasulullah. All of us are agreed on this. That's what we should be collectively uniting upon. When you start saying that this box is better than that, this football team is better than that, that hijab is this way, and you attribute that to da'wah, it's just going to create more problems. It's going to create more disunity. It's going to create more harm. Wallahu a'lam. There's another question that came through, which is asking, is it permissible to work alongside the police and prevent in order to clamp down upon extremism? And I think this probably affects people in their workplaces, maybe affects people in universities and schools as well, maybe. Wallahu a'lam, I would say that if it is possible for a person to work alongside them, not only will it be recommended, but it will be something which is wajib. And the reason why this person asked this question is because they were saying that those people, or some of those people were objecting and saying that you're not allowed to use the kuffar to aid against Muslims. And that is right in the general sense. We looked at this in Nawaqid al-Islam. However, the Prophet ﷺ used a man called Abdullah ibn Qurayt when he made hijrah from Mecca to Medina. He used the kuffar and their assistance because he knew this man is trustworthy. He's not like the rest of them. He is somebody I can trust. He's not going to betray me. He knows what he's doing. He's going to take me out of Mecca and I won't get caught. So you can use the kuffar. But more specifically, the majority of the ulama, as we'll see now, have said that it is permissible for us to use the kuffar if they are trustworthy, if it is necessary, against the Khawarij. It's permissible. From the Hanafi madhab, it says, وَلَا بَأْسْ بِأَنْ يَسْتَئِينَ أَهْلُ الْعَدْلِ. There is no harm to use the kuffar if they are trustworthy, they know what they're doing, they are capable. بِقَوْمٍ مِّنْ أَهْلِ الْبُغَاءِ. To use them to go against those people who are extreme, who are radical. وَأَهْلِ الذِّمَّةِ الْخَوَارِجِ. And to use even those people who are living inside a Muslim country. So now he is saying, if you don't live in a Muslim country, and you are a Muslim minority, can you use the kuffar government? Yes. If you live in a Muslim country, and the minority are kuffar, opposite way, can we use the kuffar? Still, yes. So Hanafi madhab. إِذَا كَانَ حُكُمْ أَهْلِ الْعَدْلِ ظَاهِرًا. As long as they know what they are doing, they are capable, there's not going to be greater harm, there is a legitimate reason. Because the reason why we are using them is to preserve the religion. لِإِعْزَازِ الدِّينِ. To preserve the religion, of course. If we are going to use the police and go through the correct channels and say, look, we are Muslims, they don't represent Islam. And we need you to help portray this message, then there is no harm in using them. Imam al-Shafi'i himself, from the Shafi'i madhab, he said, لَا بَأْسَ أَن يَسْتَئِينُ عَلَيْهِمْ. There is no harm in seeking their help against the Khawarij. And there are statements also from the Maliki madhab and the Hanbali madhab. I haven't really got time to go through all of them, but every single madhab are agreed. And the dalil for this is there was an incident, I'm sure you're all aware, where the man, he left Medina with a letter going to Quraysh, and his name was Hatib ibn Abi Batt. And he went to the Quraysh, and he witnessed Badr, and he was going to the Quraysh to say that Muhammad's coming to attack you guys. So the Prophet ﷺ caught up with him with Umar. He said, what are you doing? Are you an informant? Are you a spy? And he said, no, I'm not any of those things. I'm not trying to betray you, Ya Rasulullah, but what I want to do is tell them so they can have some rahmah on my family. They're oppressing them over there. So if I go to them with news and say Muhammad's coming, maybe they can let me go, my family go. What is the point in this? The point in this is this Hatib, he didn't do it out of nifaq. Umar said, let me cut this man's neck off, he's munafiq. Prophet ﷺ said, no. He witnessed Badr. Let him go. Why did the Prophet let him go? Because what we understand from this is that it is permissible to use the kuffar for a dunya sense. For a dunya sense. We're using them so that we can help portray the correct image of Islam. Protect communities, protect society. Not that we are using the kuffar to eradicate Islam or to spread oppression or use them for any kind of ill-gotten means. But even if we were to say all of this is out the window, etc., Ibn Taymiyyah rahimahullah said it is permissible if it is necessity. And obviously now here it is a necessity. The Muslims don't have a central power themselves. So therefore you need to use the authorities in this country to go through it. And Ibn Taymiyyah rahimahullah said it is allowed out of necessity. And also there's a fatwa of Ibn Taymiyyah where he says that it is allowed, again, with those conditions that they know what they are doing, that there will be no greater harm, there are people that are trustworthy, etc. Imam al-Fawzan rahimahullah was asked this question, and he said the person who objects to this is only somebody who is jahil, somebody who has no real knowledge. If you need to use the kuffar against the Khawarij, then this is not a tawalli. What's tawalli? Tawalli is when you're using the kuffar to fight against Islam. That's what they're claiming that we're doing here. Imam Shaykh Salih al-Fawzan said that this is from muwalat. And muwalat is the difference between muwalat. We did this in the Waqt as well, if you remember. And muwalat is when you use the kuffar for the sake of promoting and preserving this deen for a dunyawi reason. So now that one action may seem as if you're doing something which is kufr. Let's go to the police, let's go and get that Khariji. So that Khariji turned around and said, look what he's doing. It's kufr, he's munafiq. Don't say that about us. But that same one action, you can look at as tawalli, but you can look at as muwalat. Anybody who looks at this as this tawalli, Shaykh Salih al-Fawzan has said that this person is ignorant. What they are doing is they're using it for the sake of preserving the for a dunyawi benefit. And there are many other fatwa from the ulama, such as Shaykh Abdul Muhsin al-Bad and others from the ulama. Anybody have any questions? Yes. Yeah. Yeah. Is it better for a person to pray the sunnah or go to a class if he has started and seek knowledge? The ulama have said that the best action after the obligatory actions is to seek knowledge. That's better than praying optional prayers, that's better than optional fast, that's better than optional sadaqah. However, if you are able to manage both, then this is obviously better. Because your salah is preserved for a specific period of time, and by seeking knowledge, that time might expire. So if you are able to make the salah light, or as Abu Hurairah has been narrated in saying that he was reciting 2 rak'ah when the Prophet ﷺ was listening, and he was listening to the Prophet ﷺ more than he had khushu'. Not that he did it intentionally, not that he did Allahu Akbar and he's trying to do 2 things at once, but the point here is that it's permissible for him to listen at the same time. So what I would say is obviously to preserve the khushu'. If you are able to pray and then come to the dars, and if you're going to miss a small amount, then it's better for you to pray because you're preserved. But if you fear that you're going to miss the lesson and it's going to be something which is very important for you, then it's permissible for you to attend the lesson and make up the salah if there is a need for you to do so. And we know this from the Prophet ﷺ. After Salat al-Dhuhr in the 9th year of Hijrah, which is known as Am al-Wafd. This was the Am, or this is the year of delegations. If you study the Seerah, the 9th year has been coined the year of delegations. Why? Because people were coming into the deen, fi deen Allahi afwaja. From the east, from the west, all of them. People were just coming into Medina. And he had a waft from Abdul Qais. There was a tribe called Abdul Qais. And after Salat al-Dhuhr, the Prophet ﷺ sat with them, talking to them, explaining to them the religion, etc. And he missed the 2 rawatib for Salat al-Dhuhr. When did he pray it? He made qada of it after Salat al-Asr. He was busy. That's how long he was busy. Maybe 2 hours, 3 hours he was busy. So the point here is that it's permissible for you to do that if there is a genuine need to do so. But you have to also remember that the ulama also agreed that the salah times for your obligatory prayers is also the salah time for your rawatib. So for example, if a person has prayed the 4 dhuhr obligatory prayers, he needs to pray 6 rawatib. And he thinks, you know what, I'll just do it later. Asr kicks in, you know what, I'll just do it later. Maghrib comes, I've got to do 6, I'll just add the 8, do it later. And then you go home at night after work and everything, it's 10 o'clock, alright, I'll do it now. All of them, 12 in one go. Can you do that? No. إن الصلاة كان كتاب المؤمنين كتاب موقوتا إن الصلاة المؤمنين كتاب موقوتا. Salat has been prescribed in prescribed times, and this includes the rawatib. So in a nutshell, what I was saying in summary, if you can do both, then do both. Pray the 2 and then go to the dars. If you fear that you're going to miss the dars, then go to the dars and make qada of the rawatib, because now you have a legitimate reason for you to delay. Wallahu a'lam. There's another brother here is asking a question. I took a membership from a gym and I didn't pay for certain months. Yeah? This is the brother here, he's in front of me, I wrote it down. And I continued to use it without their permission. So the membership expired and he continued to use it. Does he still owe them money, or does he owe them money for the period that he used it after expiring the membership? The Prophet ﷺ said that if you have any wealth that you need to give to your brother, then give it to him. Because there's going to be a day of judgment that there will be no wealth. Your currency on that day will be hasanat and sayyat. If you have hasanat, you have to give it to him. If you have no hasanat, then you have to take some of his sayyat, his bad deeds. So anything that is owed to them for a service is their right and it's their due. So you have to return it to them in a way that is suitable. Either you go up to them and say that this is the money that is outstanding. Obviously that doesn't usually work with companies. You can't just go to the desk and say, here's your money. So, you have to look at a way, and the brother even suggested that he can sign up for 3 months for the period that he used, but not actually go, but just give him the money. That's possibly a way, but at least he's returning the haqq. A person has broke his wudu. Another question. A person has broke his wudu in Salatul Jama'ah. What's the best way of leaving? Is it to leave straight or leave that way? Now, when you are praying in Jama'ah, the sutra for the Imam is the sutra for the people behind. What that means is that nobody can cut the Imam, but you can cut the rows. This is narrated in Sahih Bukhari. Ibn Abbas, he came on his donkey. Donkey is something, if you're praying by yourself, it would break your salah according to some of the ulama. But he did with a donkey coming in Mina, and he was walking through the saf. He wasn't in a masjid, he was in Mina, he was walking through the saf. Some narrations he said he walked through and he came towards the front. So the point here is that if you have to walk through the saf, you've broken your wudu, number one, you have to stop. You can't carry on. It's not an issue of being embarrassed. Some of the ulama have said, what you should do is you should hold your nose. You mentioned in some of the books of the Hanabila, etc. You should hold your nose, hold your mouth, like you're going to vomit or you're having a nosebleed or something like that, to save embarrassment, to save people's khushu'. You know, if you're praying then he's done something which is foul, and someone might have bad thoughts about him, look at this man, what's he eating? You cover your nose and you walk. How do you leave now? This is the question. Now, if you were to leave, what we've established so far is he needs to leave. He leaves in a way which is less embarrassing. Is he allowed to walk through the sufuf? Yes, he is, because the sutra is the sutra for the Imam. How does he do it? There's two ways, and one of the ways that we know when the Prophet ﷺ, when he was in his final illness, alayhi salam, is that when he got the strength to get up, and he came into the salah. How did he come? The narration said that shuquq as-sufuf, there was like a a cut in the saf. So he was walking this way, as in walking. What would you say? Adjacent or through, vertically straight through, from the back straight through, between the people that are praying. And the people that are praying, they started hitting their thighs. Someone said, making tasbih to Allah, Abu Bakr, the Prophet ﷺ is coming through. So that's one way. But also, we know from the Prophet ﷺ said, Man mara bayna yaday musalli. Man mara bayna yaday musalli. Bayna yaday is if, now this is also important when you're praying by yourself. If you're praying by yourself, you do Allahu Akbar. If a person wants to walk through this way, you don't have to stop him, because he's walking through. The Prophet ﷺ said, Man mara bayni yaday. Bayni yaday means when he is walking across, not through. If he's walking across, then you have to stop him. If he's walking through, then that is fine. So now if he's praying in Jama'ah, if he's walking through, that is fine. If he's praying in Jama'ah, so now here what we learn from the statement of the Prophet ﷺ, if he's praying and a person wants to walk bayni yaday in front of him, cross him, then stop him. If you're praying in Jama'ah, what does that mean? He doesn't need to stop him. You see the point here? If you're praying alone, you stop him. So that means the opposite meaning is, if you're praying in Jama'ah, you don't need to stop him. So if he was to walk that way, and it's easier for him to do it that way, then that's fine. If it's easier for him to turn around straight and go straight out the door, that is also fine. So there's no particular technique, but he has to look at what's beneficial for other people so that he doesn't harm other people. This should be.
If you're praying just two of us and the Imam breaks the wudu, what happens then?
If there are two people praying and the Imam breaks the wudu, then the person himself would have to complete the prayer by himself. Or if there's three of you, then what do? The Imam then would leave and he would say to one of them, you are now the Imam, and he'll appoint someone as an Imam. What if there's a whole Jama'ah and this Imam's broke his wudu? What does he do then? Again, either he can cut through or he can go that way, but what he must do first is grab someone and appoint him as the Imam.
And you just literally say, you are the Imam?
Yeah, you can talk to them. You can talk to them.
What if you break in sujood? Does he grab some?
You do the takbir, and then you can tell the person to call forward, or you can you do the takbir, get them up, and tell that man he is the Imam whilst he is sitting in the sitting position. You can leave, and he can then stand up and then take a step forward afterwards, or sit forward afterwards if it's possible. This actually happened in Medina while I was there. Not in Medina, I wasn't in Medina, but while I was in Saudi, where Imam Hudayfi, I don't know if he broke his wudu or not. He did a takbir. He started the prayer right at the beginning. You know about this. He did takbir. And then he said on the loudspeaker, "Intadhiru daqiqa."
Yeah, that's been recorded.
It's been recorded, I know it has. It was Salatul Maghrib, wasn't it? It's Salatul Maghrib. He said, wait 1 minute. He went, so people are literally in Salah, in Masjid Nawawi, waiting for the Imam, in Salah. He went through the side door, the front. He came back out and he started, Allah, and carried on praying. And the dalil for this is where the Prophet ﷺ himself, that happened to. He did the takbir, and he realized that he needed to make ghusl, alayhi salam. So he went, and he came back, and he continued praying. And some of the narrations said that he came back, and water was dripping from his blessed hair. So the point here is that there is dalil for that. The Imam can do that if there is a need for him to do so, but that is only in the beginning of the prayer. That is only in the beginning of the prayer. If he's at the end of the prayer or the middle of the prayer, then he has to appoint an Imam from the congregation to take his